What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. You guys really liked my dual-wield warrior gearing guide, so this is going to be my two-handed warrior gearing guide. The talents and the gear that you will be using, this will actually be your top performing DPS spec on warrior currently in phase 1 of Season of Discovery. So without further ado, guys, let's dive in. Alright, so here we are, guys. We're on 60 upgrades, and this is going to be your absolute top DPS spec for warriors in phase 1 of Season of Discovery. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at our talents. So for our runes, we're going to be taking Raging Blow on our chest, Consumed by Rage on our legs, and Quick Strike on our hands. And for our talent choices here, we're going to put 3 points in Improved Heroic Strike to reduce the cost of Heroic Strike by 3 rage points, 3 points in Improved Rend to increase our bleed damage by 35% on there, 2 points in Improved Charge to get a little bit more rage when we get a charge off, 2 points in Tactical Mastery or 2 points in Parry. You can kind of throw these 2 points wherever you want. Putting them in Tactical Mastery is kind of foolproofing for the future for when the level cap increases, because we're going to want anger management in the next phase anyway, but you can throw these in Parry if you don't mind respecking later on. 3 points in Deep Wounds to give us an extra bleed when we deal a critical strike, and then 1 point in Overpower to give us a 25% chance to crit with Overpower. Now our 2 leftover points are going to go into Cruelty over in the Fury Tree to give us an extra 2% chance to crit. Now let's take a look at our BIS gear. So for our headpiece, we're going to be rocking the Artemis Cowl. It gives us 6 stamina, 7 agility, 24 attack power, and it drops off Lady Cerebus in BFD with a 16% chance to drop. If you haven't entered BRD yet, the next best thing here is going to be to just wear your engineering goggles, like the green tinted goggles, and then once you're in there, if you can get the Artemis Cowl, that would be your best headpiece, but the tier set piece, the Twilight Avengers helm, is a close second, and the Twilight Slayer's cowl, the leather set piece, is a close third, but the Artemis Cowl will give you the biggest DPS increase. For our neck pieces, we have the High Tide Choker that gives us 4 agility, 7 stamina, drops off Baron Aquinas, 18% chance to drop there, and if you can't get your hands on this just yet, I suggest farming your rep with Silverwing Sentinels or Warsong Outriders. Get up to Honored so you can grab the Sentinels Medallion, which is going to give you 6 agility and 2 stamina. Moving on to our shoulders, the best shoulders in this slot would be the Bristlebark Amis leather shoulders that give you 6 agility and 3 strength, but they're a world drop and they're pretty rare. I'm pretty sure it's a less than 1% drop chance to get these, so I would opt in going for the Elite shoulders or the Glimmering Mail Pauldrons, both which would give you 6 strength. The Elite shoulders can be bought off vendors around the world, and the Glimmering Mail Pauldrons are just a random world drop, so you can probably pick one of these up on the auction house for fairly cheap. I would say under 2 or 3 gold. Moving on down to our cape, we have the Shimmering Thresher Cape. That's going to drop off Gamura in BFD. It's going to give you 6 strength, 6 spirit. But before you get your hands on this, if you're trying to get some pre-raid gear, I would go for the Sergeant's Cloak. This will be able to be purchased if you reach rank 3, which is very easily obtainable, and it's actually really big. It's going to give you 4 of every single stat. And before you get your hands on this, if you want to get something before that, you can always pick up a Slayer's Cape on the auction house. Now for our absolute best in-slot chest piece, it's going to be the Shining Silver Breastplate. This is going to give you 14 strength, 6 stamina, and we can enchant it with +1 to all stats, so you're getting 15 strength, 7 stamina off this chest. This is crafted by blacksmiths, so if it's a little bit too expensive for you to pick up, you can always farm the Mutant Scale Breastplate, which is just slightly worse. It has 1 less strength, 1 less stamina, and it drops in Wailing Caverns off Mutanus the Devourer. I actually got pretty lucky and got this on my first run. For our bracers, the absolute best in-slot bracers for this phase are going to be the Pugilist bracers that drop in Razorfen Crawl off the trash. They are a trash mob drop, so they have like a 0.10% chance to drop. It's very, very low, but if you can pick these up on the auction house, if you have a lot of gold, I would. These are the best bracers you can use. If not, we can opt to go for the Jorgen bracers, which might be a little bit cheaper, somewhere in the realm of 15 to 20 gold, or the Bindings of Serikis from the raid from Gamura. They drop, they're going to give you 6 strength, 4 stamina. But until that point, if you can't get your hands on any of these 3, I would opt to just go for the patterned bronze bracers, which are made by blacksmiths and they're fairly cheap, or the Jurassic Wrist Guards, which give you 2 strength, 5 agility. Both of these options would be fairly cheap on the auction house. And then obviously for our weapon, we want to go for the Deadly Strike of the Hydra. This drops off Akumai. It has a 4% chance to drop, so it is pretty rare, but there is no better two-handed weapon for warriors in the game at this point. This is the weapon you want to be going for. Once you get this, you will be absolutely pumping. But until that point, you might get lucky and get the Fathom Blade, which drops off Baron Aquinas. Has a 20% chance to drop, so it's not that rare. It's going to give you 1% hit, and it's going to give you a chance on hit to basically Cone of Cold whatever is in front of you. But let's say you haven't stepped foot in the raid yet, and you just want to pick up something that doesn't cost you anything, that's easy to get. You can always pick up Smite's Mighty Hammer from Dead Mines, or the Ancient War Sword from the Nekrosh quest in Wetlands. It is available to you. You will need a group to do it. As for our glove slot, you're going to want to be a leather worker if you're trying to do the most DPS possible, and you're going to want to craft your void touched leather gloves. These are going to give you 6 agility, 6 stamina, 3 spirit, and we're going to put the quick strike rune on them. These are going to give you 1% chance to hit and an on-use effect. Descend into Madness, increase your attack speed by 10%, as well as increasing the threat you generate for 10 seconds. These are absolutely enormous. I actually just finished getting these the other day. I have a video on that if you want to figure out how to unlock these crafting patterns, but that's in another video, so if you want to check that out, I'll pin it here in a card for you guys. But if you aren't a leather worker and you don't want to be a leather worker, the next best thing is going to be the Algae Gauntlets that give you 10 strength, 4 stamina, and 3 agility, and they drop off Gelihas the Murloc in the BFD raid. Now, before stepping foot in the raid, you can always pick up Glimmering Mail Gauntlets for 7 strength, 3 agility. They're going to be on the auction house fairly cheap, I'd say under 2 gold, and they're really not that bad. 7 strength, 3 agility on a pair of gloves at this level is pretty darn good. Now, moving on down to our belt, Cobran's Grasp is just absolutely huge. 8 strength, 3 agility. This is going to be your BIS all the way through to the end of this phase. Again, I got lucky and caught Cobran's Grasp and the Mutant Scale Breastplate in my first Wailing Caverns run. I don't expect that everyone will be that lucky, but this is your best in-slot belt, so I definitely would try to farm that if you could. And next in line would be the Twilight Defender's Girdle. 9 stamina, 7 strength. Gives you 4 defense. It's more of a tanking belt, but the 7 strength on it is really nice, and that drops off Twilight Lord Kelris. And before you step foot in raid, if you haven't farmed Cobran's Grasp and you haven't stepped foot in the raid to try and get the Twilight Defender's Girdle, you can always pick up an Emblazoned Belt off the auction house. It's going to be pretty cheap. It gives you 7 strength, 3 stamina, or even the Glimmering Mail Girdle, 7 strength, 2 stamina. Both of these should be able to be bought on the auction house for fairly cheap. Next up, we have the Leggings of the Faithful. These drop off Lady Cerevis in BFD. They have a 29% chance to drop, so not that rare. 9 stamina, 10 strength, 7 agility. These are absolutely enormous. But the second in line, if you haven't stepped foot into the raid yet, would be the Glimmering Mail Leg Guards for 7 agility, 8 strength. These are a world drop. These might be a little bit more pricey, probably more in the realm of 3 to 5 gold, just because they are really strong. And if you can't get your hands on those in your alliance, I would opt to go for the Chaucies of Westfall, which you can get by completing the Van Cleef quest for Dead Mines. And if you can't get your hands on those in your horde, I would suggest farming the Leggings of the Fang. For our boots, we want to use the Silver Hand Sabatons. They drop off of Lorgus Jet in BFD. It's a 9% chance to drop, but these boots are actually pretty huge. There's 5 agility, 4 stamina, 9 strength on these boots. So you want to try and go for these. These are going to be your best in-slot boots for the phase. If you can't get those, you can use the Crab Shell Waders for 6 stamina, 3 spirit, 11 strength. Those drop off Akumai with an 8% chance to drop, or you can use the Twilight Avengers boots for the 10 strength, 5 stamina, or the Twilight Slayer's foot pads for 5 strength, 7 agility, 7 stamina. Overall, there's a lot of choices when it comes to boots that drop in this raid, but the Silver Hand Sabatons will give you the highest DPS increase. Now, moving on down to our rings, we have Band of Deep Places. This drops off Lady Cerevis, 12% chance to drop. It's going to give you 6 stamina, 6 strength. That's going to be a really good ring. It's not your absolute best in slot. Your absolute best in slot would be the Thunderbrow ring, 3 agility, 8 strength. But if you could find this ring on the auction house, it's going to be expensive, and most people aren't going to be able to afford it. If you can, pick it up immediately, because this is your absolute best in slot ring, but it's more practical to go for the Band of Deep Places and Silverlane's Family Seal, which drops in SFK, 7 strength, 3 stamina. But other good choices would be, if you're Alliance, to go for the Seal of Rin. Everyone's doing this quest over there, so it's fairly easy to complete. It's a nice ring. Or you can go for the Protector's Band, which is honored with Silverwing Sentinels or Warsong Outriders, 4 strength, 4 agility, 2 stam on that. So there's about 4 or 5 good ring choices that we can go for here. but again, Thunderbrow ring is your best ring, but it's going to be really expensive if you do find it. And then as for our trinket, obviously it's going to be the Avengers Void Pearl. So once Akumai is slain, the entire raid gets to roll on a giant pearl, which you can then hand in, that drops the world buff, and it will allow you to select a trinket. This would be the trinket you select. It's going to give you 10 shadow resistance and 18 attack power. And then next in line for your second trinket, I would go for just the insignia of the Alliance or the Horde to get you out of any slowing, immobilizing, or stun effects. There are a few in the raid, so if you can get out of them a little bit earlier and continue DPSing, you're going to do more damage. And then as for our range slot here, we have the Naga Heart Render. This drops off Lady Seravis with a 12% chance to drop. This bow has 5 strength on it, which is really huge. That's going to be your biggest DPS increase if you can use this in your range slot. If not, you're going to go for the Baal Modan's Blunderbuss, which drops off Akumai. 17% chance to drop there. That's going to give you 6 agility. And if you want to pick up something before you go into raid, you can probably pick up the Ranger Bow on the auction house. However, it might be a little bit pricey, and you're only getting 1 agility for this slot. So keep that in mind and use your money sparingly. So that's it, guys. That would be the best performing DPS build for warriors. I know you guys enjoyed my dual wielding build. I know personally that is not the top performing build for warriors, but I have a lot of people asking what about dual wielding warriors, so that's why I made that guide. But this would be your absolute best in-slot gear to do the most damage possible with these exact talents, these runes. You're going to be running Raging Blow, Quick Strike, and Consume by Rage using a big beefy two-hander, and you're gonna do a lot of DPS. So I hope this was able to help you guys out, and if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It really does help me, and consider subscribing to the channel and turning on post notifications so you don't miss the next time I post a video. And if you want to hang out with me live, I do stream on Twitch Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/hammerdance. I'll drop a link to that in the description below this video. Also, guys, drop some comments down below. Let me know what you think of these 2 builds that I've done now. I've done the dual wield guide and I've done the two-hander guide. I've tried both and both perform pretty well. So I'm curious to how you guys are enjoying your warriors. And if you guys want to join an awesome Discord community full of like-minded people who just really enjoy geeking out over Classic and SOD and all of this stuff, then head on over to our Discord. I'll drop a link to that in the description below as well. But anyways, guys, that's all I've got for you today. So thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.